I saw other grads embrace their families while standing by myself in my cap and gown. I'm Robin, and I received my degree in computer science from college today. My parents were celebrating my twin sister Rachel's graduation in another state, so they weren't present. I looked at my phone once again and read their message. We're really happy that Rachel has graduated. When you return home, I can't wait to rejoice. Nothing at all regarding my graduation. No congratulations. I'd always be second best, just to remind you. I got a window seat that was unoccupied as I boarded the train home and saw the campus fade away. I worked hard for years, but my family never bothered to show up. I shouldn't have had any different expectations. This was how it had always been. The only similarity between Rachel and me was that we were born on the same day. With our dad's blue eyes and our mom's blonde hair, she was gregarious and endearing. I wasn't like either parent. I was quieter, more reserved, and had hazel eyes and dark brown hair. I occasionally questioned whether I was adopted, but the newborn photos proved we were twins, albeit not exact replicas. The trend was evident from the time of our first birthdays. Every time, the cake read, "Happy birthday, Rachel." Always happy birthday, Rachel and Robin. We all know it's your birthday too, honey, Mom remarked with a giggle when I once asked about it. It is not necessary for us to write it. However, each year they wrote Rachel's name. Reminiscent of our 16th birthday, I gazed out the train window. Rachel received an automobile, albeit a modest, pre-owned vehicle. I heard Dad tell Mom that the laptop was on sale, but it wasn't a horrible present, really. We were able to save more money for Rachel's automobile. The truth is, I adored that laptop. I brought it to the school's coding club, where I met individuals who genuinely valued me. The first instructor who seemed to recognize my skill was the club advisor, Mr. Saunders. He informed me, "Robin, you have a gift," after I spent only a few minutes debugging a senior's assignment. Your way of thinking is different. That is valuable. As the train shook, I closed my eyes and reflected on how I had developed my portfolio for college applications using that laptop. I can vividly picture my parents' expressions when I assured them that I wouldn't want their funds for college. Dad had mentioned, "We need to talk about college" at a supper one evening. "We've saved what we can, but we only have enough for one of you." Rachel's business program is very prestigious, Mom said. And with her social skills, she'll make important connections. I interrupted them. I was awarded a full scholarship to study computer science at MIT. I'm not in need of your money. The astonishment on their expressions nearly compensated for years of being ignored. You applied to MIT? Mom inquired. They inquired, "Who's Mr. Saunders?" when I said that I had been working on my application for months. My coding club teacher for the past 3 years. They exchanged glances, obviously taken aback by my achievements, which they were unaware of. The train announcement snapped me back to reality. 2 more hours until I reached home, though it never really felt like home. MIT had become more of a home to me than my parents' house ever was. It was at MIT that I met Alex during freshman orientation. We were both awkward, both obsessed with coding, and both had ideas bigger than ourselves. By sophomore year, we were spending every free moment working on our file-sharing application. "This could be something big," Alex would say, eyes gleaming with excitement, as we stayed up coding until 3 a.m. "Maybe," I'd answer, trying to temper my hopes. I'd learned early not to expect too much. My rare calls home followed a predictable pattern. "Hi, honey. Rachel just got elected to the Business Student Council. Rachel's internship is going so well, they might offer her a job after graduation." Rachel went to a party at the dean's house. Once, my mom asked, "What do you do in your free time, Robin?" I started explaining our app, my heart racing with rare enthusiasm. "Alex and I are developing this file-sharing platform that—" "Oh, speaking of friends," Mom interrupted, "Rachel's roommate is from the Johnson family." "You know, Johnson Pharmaceuticals. They have a vacation home in Aspen and invited Rachel for winter break." When I visited home for the holidays, it was the same story. Rachel holding court in the living room, our parents beaming as she told stories about her connected classmates and promising future. Me sitting quietly, occasionally nodding when someone remembered I was there. During my junior year, everything changed. Alex and I finally perfected our app after countless all-nighters and failed iterations. A tech company in California noticed us. After months of meetings and legal paperwork, we sold it for a sum that still didn't feel real, $2 million each after taxes. I sat in my dorm room for 2 weeks after the deal closed, staring at the banking app on my phone. The number didn't change, no matter how many times I checked. $2 million. I was 21 years old and had more money than I could comprehend. I told no one. Not my classmates, not my roommate, and certainly not my family. They had never been interested in my projects before. Why would I share this with them now? Besides, I wasn't sure how they would react. Would they suddenly care about me if they knew I had money? I didn't want to find out, so I kept living like a normal college student. I ate ramen noodles, complained about textbook prices, and wore the same clothes until they wore out. No one suspected that the quiet girl in the computer lab was a millionaire. And now, a year later, I was on this train, heading to a celebration that wasn't meant for me. Very soon, I'd watch my parents celebrate Rachel's success while barely acknowledging mine. I'd smile and pretend it didn't hurt, just like I always had. The train slowed as we approached my station. I gathered my things, took a deep breath, and prepared to enter the familiar world where I was always an afterthought. I pushed open the front door of my childhood home. The sound of laughter and conversation spilled from the living room. Colorful streamers and a "Congratulations, graduate" banner decorated the walls, all for Rachel, of course. "Hello," I called out, dropping my bag in the hallway. Mom glanced over from where she was arranging a platter of finger sandwiches. "Oh, Robin, you're here. The guests will be arriving any minute. Can you help set up these napkins?" No hug, no congratulations, no "how was your trip?" Just a request to help with Rachel's party. I silently arranged napkins while the doorbell began ringing. Family, friends, neighbors, and relatives streamed in, each bearing gifts and cards for Rachel. I stood in the corner, smiling politely when introduced, but mostly invisible. Isn't this exciting? Rachel graduating with business honors. Mrs. Peterson from next door gushed to my mom. We couldn't be prouder. Mom beamed. Aunt Judy spotted me and walked over, giving me a warm hug. "Robin, it's so good to see you. How was your graduation?" "I'm sorry we couldn't make it." "It was fine," I said, grateful that someone remembered. Aunt Judy looked around at the decorations, her brow furrowing. "Wait, are we only celebrating Rachel's graduation today? What about Robin?" The nearby conversations quieted. Mom's face flushed. "Of course we're celebrating both our daughters," she said quickly. "Robin just arrived, so we haven't had a chance to put up my name on any of the decorations." I suggested, keeping my voice light despite the knot in my stomach. Dad cleared his throat. "Let's all sit down for dinner, shall we? The food's getting cold." Everyone filed awkwardly to the dining table. I ended up wedged between my cousin Tyler and one of Rachel's friends from high school, who didn't remember meeting me before. Before we eat, Dad announced, raising his glass, "I want to propose a toast to our amazing daughters." My pulse quickened. Maybe they would acknowledge my graduation after all. To Rachel, Dad continued, who graduated with honors from the business program. "Your mother and I couldn't be prouder of your hard work and determination." Rachel smiled, soaking in the praise. "And we have a special gift to help you on your journey," Mom added, handing Rachel an envelope. "We're giving $100,000 to help you start your own business." Rachel opened the envelope and burst into tears. "Oh my God, thank you. This is amazing. I'm going to be so successful. I promise I'm going to be rich." Everyone applauded. I clapped too, wondering what they'd say about me. "And to Robin," Dad said, turning to me. He reached under the table and pulled out a wrapped package. "Congratulations on completing your computer studies." I took the package and unwrapped it. It was a book titled How to Become a Millionaire, a step-by-step guide. "We thought this would help you on your path," Mom said proudly. It got great reviews online. Rachel snorted, then quickly covered it with a cough when she noticed Aunt Judy's disapproving look. "I'm sure Robin will be rich someday too," she said, patting my arm. "After I get my business off the ground, maybe I can give you some tips." I stared at the book, feeling a strange mixture of hurt and amusement. If they only knew. "Thank you," I managed to say. "I appreciate it." Dinner continued, with most of the conversation revolving around Rachel's future plans, her business ideas, her connections, her potential. I excused myself early, claiming fatigue from travel, and retreated to my old bedroom upstairs. My childhood room remained largely unchanged since high school: posters of tech pioneers on the walls, bookshelves filled with programming manuals and sci-fi novels, the desk where I'd spent countless hours coding while Rachel attended parties and games. Downstairs, I sat on my bed, turning the How to Become a Millionaire book over in my hands. The irony was almost too perfect. My phone buzzed with a text from the real estate agent I'd contacted before graduation. "Found a perfect apartment matching your requirements. Available for showing tomorrow at 10 a.m. I smiled, picturing my parents' faces if they knew I was about to buy an apartment outright, no mortgage, no roommates, just mine. A soft knock on my door interrupted my thoughts. "Come in," I called. Aunt Judy poked her head in. "Just wanted to check on you." That was uncomfortable down there. I shrugged. "I'm used to it." She sat beside me on the bed. "You shouldn't have to be. You graduated from MIT, for heaven's sake." "That's incredible." "Thanks, Aunt Judy." "Do you have any job prospects?" she asked. "Actually, yes. I signed a contract with Nexus Tech last month. I start in 2 weeks. Aunt Judy's eyes widened. "Nexus Tech? That's a major company, Robin." "That's wonderful." I smiled, feeling a rare moment of pride. "The salary is good too." "I'll be fine." "Better than fine, I'd say." "Does your family know?" I shook my head. "They haven't asked." Aunt Judy sighed. "I never understood your parents' fixation on Rachel. You're both exceptional in different ways." After she left, I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account just to reassure myself. There it was, $2 million. More money than my parents had saved their entire lives. More than they had given Rachel to start her business. The thought of revealing this information made my stomach twist with anxiety, but also with a strange, forbidden excitement. What would their faces look like? Would they finally see me? I closed my laptop and stared at the ceiling, imagining the possibilities. I could stay silent, continue being invisible, Robin, where I could show them exactly what their overlooked daughter had accomplished. The next morning, I woke up early and packed my suitcase. I'd made my decision during the night. It was time to stop hiding my success, not for their approval, but for my own closure. I took the How to Become a Millionaire book and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account, took a screenshot showing my balance of $2 million, and printed it. I carefully tucked the printout inside the book and went downstairs. My family was already at the breakfast table. Rachel was telling Mom and Dad about her plans to open a boutique marketing agency for small businesses. Only to rent office space, of course, she was saying as I entered. Something impressive to show clients, maybe downtown. "Morning," I said, pouring myself a cup of coffee. "Oh, morning, Robin," Mom replied. "There's toast if you want some." I sat down at the table. "Actually, I wanted to let you know I'm leaving today." That got their attention. Sort of. Dad lowered his newspaper slightly. "Already? You just got here." "I have things to take care of," I said. "I found an apartment back in Cambridge." Mom looked confused. "But you just graduated. How can you afford an apartment?" "I have a job lined up," I explained. "I signed with Nexus Tech before graduation." "That software company?" Dad asked, sounding surprised. "Well, good for you. But still, you'll need roommates. First apartments are always shared." Rachel nodded knowingly. You'll be living with, like, 5 other programmers in some tiny place. That's just how it is starting out. I took a sip of my coffee, trying to hide my smile. Actually, I'll be living alone. It's a 2-bedroom with an office and good internet. Mom frowned. Robin, be realistic. Entry-level jobs don't pay enough for that kind of place, especially in Cambridge. Besides, Rachel added, you need to save for emergencies. That's business 101. I set down my coffee cup. Speaking of business, I wanted to thank you for the book. I placed the How to Become a Millionaire book on the table. I think you should take a look inside, though. There was something interesting in there. Dad picked up the book and opened it. The printed screenshot of my bank account fell onto the table. Mom leaned over to look, and Rachel craned her neck to see. For a moment, nobody spoke. Their eyes moved between the paper and my face. What is this? Dad finally asked, his voice oddly quiet. My bank account, I said simply. $2 million. Rachel practically shrieked. Is this some kind of joke? No joke. I took another sip of coffee, trying to appear calmer than I felt. Remember that app one tried to tell you about last year? The one you weren't interested in hearing about? My classmate Alex and I sold it to a tech company. Mom's hand went to her throat. You made $2 million from an app, after taxes? Yes, I confirmed. We closed the deal about a year ago. A year? Dad looked stunned. You've had this money for a year and didn't tell us? I met his eyes. If you had been even slightly interested in my life, you might have known. Rachel's shock was morphing into something else, a calculating look I recognized from childhood. The one she used when figuring out how to turn a situation to her advantage. That's amazing, Robin, she said, her voice suddenly warm and enthusiastic. We should celebrate your success too. I always knew you were smart. This is worth celebrating. Robin, sweetie, we're so proud of you, Mom said, reaching for my hand across the table. The endearment sounded foreign coming from her mouth. Are you proud of me or my bank account? I asked quietly. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Robin, that's not fair, Mom finally said. Of course we're proud of you. I'm glad to hear it, I said, standing up. I should get going. My train leaves in an hour. Mom stood up suddenly, looking desperate. Robin, please stay. We can have a proper celebration for your graduation too. We'll get another cake. Invite people over. I appreciate the offer, but I need to go. I headed for the door. Robin, wait. Dad called. At least let us drive you to the station. I already called a car, I replied. It should be here any minute. Rachel followed me to the door. You can't just drop a bomb like this and leave, she said, lowering her voice. Mom and Dad took out a loan for my business, money you know they're counting on me to succeed. I paused at the door. I didn't know that, I admitted. But that was their choice. We're family, Rachel said. If you have all this money, don't you think you should help? Before I could answer, a car horn sounded outside. My ride had arrived. Goodbye, I said, opening the door. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. As the car pulled away, I watched my parents and Rachel standing in the doorway, their expressions a mixture of shock, confusion, and most notably, calculation. My phone started buzzing immediately with texts and calls from all 3 of them, but I silenced it. The train ride back to Cambridge was quieter than the one to my parents' house. No memories clouded my mind this time, only possibilities. I had money, a promising career, and freedom. What I didn't have and wasn't sure I wanted anymore was my family's approval. At the hotel, I met with the realtor and toured the apartment. It was perfect, spacious, modern, with large windows and fast internet. I signed the papers that afternoon. Congratulations, Ms. Wells, the realtor said, handing me the keys. It's all yours. That night, as I settled into my hotel room, I finally checked my phone, 27 missed calls and dozens of text messages, all variations on the same theme. We need to talk. Please call us back. We're so proud of you. Family should help family. I turned off my phone and looked out the window at the city lights. Tomorrow would be the first day of my new life, and for once, I was the one in control of the story. A week passed before I finally answered one of my mother's calls. I'd been busy settling into my new apartment, arranging furniture deliveries, and preparing for my job at Nexus Tech, but mostly I'd been enjoying the peace of not having to explain myself to anyone. "Robin, thank goodness," Mom said when I picked up. "We've been so worried." "I'm fine," I replied. "Just busy with the move." "We need to talk," she said, her voice taking on that practical tone I knew too well. "Your father and I wanted to discuss something important with you. Could you maybe come home this weekend?" "I can't," I said. "I start my new job on Monday and I'm still unpacking. Then maybe we could come visit you?" The eagerness in her voice was unmistakable. "Not this weekend," I said firmly. "What did you want to discuss?" Another pause. "Well, it's about Rachel's business loan. We were thinking, since you have such a wonderful windfall, perhaps you might consider helping us pay off the loan. Family should support family, after all." There it was, the real reason for all those worried calls and texts. Not concern for me, but for what my money could do for them. "No," I said simply. She sounded genuinely surprised, as if the possibility of refusal hadn't occurred to her. "I'm not giving you money to pay off Rachel's business loan. That's not my responsibility. But we're family." Her voice rose. "After everything we've done for you." "What exactly have you done for me, Mom?" I asked quietly. "My scholarship paid for college. I worked summer jobs for spending money. I built my career and my app without any support from you or Dad." Silence stretched between us. "I can't believe how selfish you've become," she finally said. "I'm not being selfish. I'm setting boundaries." I took a deep breath. "I think I need some time away from you all. I'll call when I'm ready to talk again." "Robin, wait," she cried, but I ended the call. Over the next few days, texts continued to flow in from my family. Dad tried a different approach, congratulating me on my entrepreneurial spirit and suggesting we talk business sometime. Rachel alternated between guilt trips and suddenly remembering shared childhood memories I knew she'd fabricated. I blocked their numbers for a week, needing space to focus on my new beginning. My first day at Nexus Tech was exhilarating. The company culture was everything I'd hoped for: creative, challenging, and respectful. My team welcomed me warmly, and my manager was impressed with my portfolio. "The file-sharing app you developed was brilliant," she told me during our first one-on-one meeting. "That's why we hired you. We're expecting great things." For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen for my abilities, not compared to someone else or dismissed as the less interesting twin. I made friends quickly at work. We started having Friday night get-togethers at my apartment, ordering pizza and playing video games or discussing coding challenges. These people appreciated me for who I was, not what I could give them. For months into my new life, Aunt Judy called. "Your parents are telling everyone you're rich, but refusing to help family," she said without preamble. "I thought you should know." I let out a sigh. "That's what I thought they may do." "Rachel's business isn't doing well," she said. "Turns out most small businesses don't want to pay premium prices for marketing when they can do most of it themselves online." "That's unfortunate," I said. "Don't be concerned." Aunt Judy reassured me. "I've been correcting the family's records. The majority of us recall how they have consistently handled you. Nobody holds it against you if you maintain your distance." "Thanks, Aunt Judy." Her tone brightened. "Tell me about your recent employment. Is it all you had hoped for?" We spent an hour discussing my new acquaintances, my place, and my job. She didn't ask for anything or bring up my money at all. After we ended the call, I felt lighter. My mother contacted me again at breakfast 9 months after I came clean. Curious to see whether anything had changed, I responded without hesitation this time. "Robin," she murmured in a quiet voice. "How are you?" "I'm doing okay, Mom. How are things over there?" Her words were, "Rachel's business folded last week," and she sighed. "She's looking for a regular job now." "I'm sorry to hear that. Your father and I are managing the loan payments, but it's tight." She hesitated. "I'm not phoning to make a financial request. I just wanted to let you know that I've been considering how we've handled you in contrast to Rachel. I waited without saying anything. I don't think I realized how much we favored her until you showed us that bank statement, she said. It was a shock to see that you'd accomplished so much without us even noticing. It shouldn't have taken $2 million for you to notice me, Mom. I know, she muttered. I'm sorry. I was taken by surprise by the apology. It wasn't enough to erase years of being overlooked, but it was something. Thank you for saying that, I'd say. Maybe we could come over and check out your new place? Just to visit you, no pressure about the loan or anything else. I thought about it. Perhaps in a couple more months. I'm still settling in. She responded, well, wait until you're ready. And Robin, I really am proud of what you've accomplished. I watched the sunset over Cambridge from my balcony after we hung up. Although I wasn't yet prepared to make a complete reconciliation with my family, I finally recognized the potential for a better relationship down the road, one built on true respect rather than material necessity. My coworker Zoe texted me on my phone, saying, "Team dinner at 7. Are you in?" I returned the reply with a smile and said, "Definitely." I was thankful for the journey that had brought me here as I prepared to meet my friends. The neglected sibling had grown into a prosperous software engineer with a lovely home and deep connections. My parents, who had always ignored me, no longer needed to validate me